So we got the State of the Union happening tonight. You can hear it 8 p.m. right here on KCMO Talk Radio. And in the wake of what happened in Mexico over the weekend, that's where I believe the President of the United States should start the conversation today. It has been the most controversial issue of his second term, and that's ICE. And obviously you've got high schoolers protesting all across Johnson County, Kansas, and across Kansas City for that matter, but it's been most prevalent, it seems, in Johnson County, Kansas. You've got, the president obviously getting hit on this issue from all different corners. And while a lot of people will say, hey, it's the economy, stupid, focus there. That would be my number 2 issue. The first thing the president should open with tonight is getting right to this topic. Right to the border, right to the Mexican drug cartels, right to the fact that we've lost 100,000 people a year the last few years to drug overdoses and drug poisonings, and explain to the American people why this happened. How China is working through the Mexican drug cartels to get these drugs into our country, how it was imperative that we close the border. We didn't need an act of Congress, despite what the last guy had to say. We just needed the right person to get elected. And now a lot of these ICE deportations and ICE arrests are happening because we need to get the worst of the worst off the streets. That's where the president should start this speech tonight. Stop all the fanfare. Stop all the, we got to thank 17 different people. Just get right to it. Do not waste the viewers' times. And that's the problem with these speeches. They're getting worse and worse and worse, regardless of political party. They're getting longer. They're wasting more time. There's too much pomp and circumstance. And people don't have time. And frankly, they don't care. I believe the president has about 10 minutes probably to make the best case he can make to the country tonight. Because as this speech drags on, let's be honest, people are going to tune out. Heck, after 30 minutes, I might be like, come on, let's go. Keep it moving here, everybody. But, you got these presidents who love to use their bully pulpit as a chance to kind of say whatever's on their mind. You have then the SEALs who will have to, be clapping, and whoever claps the hardest gets a big prize after the event tonight. So you've got that going on here, too. And that obviously delays the entire thing and extends the entire thing. But people are not going to sit here for an hour and a half start to finish. The diehard Trump fans will. There's no doubt about it. Most people are not going to do it. So what's the biggest message you want to get across if you're this administration, if you're the president of the United States right now? It is the security of the nation, the security of the border, and the fact that we also have, according to various statistics, violent crime numbers that are at close to 100-year lows. And I believe, and I think the president would lay this out, and would be smart to lay this out, a direct correlation between the policies that they have taken on the border and with ICE that connects all these dots and is making our cities and communities safer. That's it. That's where he starts. Because like yesterday, there was a great moment at the White House that most people probably didn't see. A little bit of this got covered on Fox, but not a lot. And you had the mother of Laken Riley at the White House yesterday. And she was talking. She's the young lady who got killed. She was on the University of Georgia campus visiting a friend. She went out for a run one morning a couple of years back, and she lost her life. She was killed on a running trail by an illegal alien. And, for all the talk around what's going on in this country right now as it relates to ICE, no one talks about the fact that we're trying to do the thing that would have saved Laken Riley's life in hindsight. That's the goal of the administration. Laken Riley's mother, Allison Phillips, was at the White House yesterday. And here's what she had to say about the job the president of the United States is doing.
You are doing a thankless job that most people just wouldn't do. And I just can't thank you enough. There are just not enough words to say Because if you've lived the nightmare that we have lived, you understand the importance of the job that he's doing and securing our nation and fighting for our families. Because this could be any family. This happened to my family. This could be any one of your families.
Nothing about what Allison Phillips just said there, the mother of the late Laken Riley, is about you being a Democrat, you being a Republican. It's about you being a mother, you being a father, you being a parent, and her rightfully pointing out what happened to Laken Riley could have happened to any college-age kid anywhere in the country. Her story happened to happen at the University of Georgia, could have happened down the road at KU, K-State, Mizzou. Doesn't matter. It could have happened at any of those places. It just happened to happen at the University of Georgia. And she's right to note that the president's doing a thankless job. It's arguably the thing that is hurting his popularity and hurting his approval rating more than anything else. It is the issue the media has latched onto. Not that the administration hasn't made a couple of mistakes along the way in how they've rolled out some of their deportation efforts. I believe they have. I've noted that. I've been fairly critical of people like Kristi Noem on and off the last few weeks in particular because I don't think they played their cards right. But the broader story here is that you have a president who walked in to the job when the guy before him let upwards of 20 million people illegally into the country. And yes, he let them in. Trump literally did a couple of things and the borders totally shut down. So you can't say, oh, he didn't really let them in. He didn't know what was. No, he let them in. Okay? He let them in. So this guy comes in. He's got to clean up a lot of this. It's a thankless task. It's the issue that's hurting him the most politically right now. But he's doing it because he knows it's the right thing to do. I mean, heck, if you're Trump tonight, you could throw it to that clip of Allison Phillips from yesterday at the White House in your State of the Union, because most people probably didn't see that clip. Most people may have seen it on social media, but let's be honest, unless your algorithm is feeding you that clip, you're probably not going to get it. And the people that need to see that clip are the ones who did not get that clip fed to them in their algorithm on X or Facebook or wherever. So they probably didn't see it. But that right there really summarizes a lot of what the president has tried to do, because this was tied to an event yesterday where the president named February 23rd National Angel Family Day, remembering and honoring the thousands of American lives stolen from us by criminal illegal aliens and the deadly drugs they bring across our borders. The president putting in a statement here, we stand with the angel families, many of whom continue to be left without justice. And we recommit to carrying out the largest mass deportation effort in our nation's history, getting the worst of the worst out of our country, and putting a stop to the violent targeting the brave men and women of law enforcement. That's where you start tonight. That issue, that topic is where you begin tonight. The economy's number two. But you've got to try to, with 75 million, whatever the number ends up being, it could be maybe as low as 50 or 60. It could be higher than 75. I think it'll probably sit somewhere between 60 and 75 million if I was ballparking. You've got to try to set the narrative right on this specific issue, because it is the issue that has hurt the administration the first year more than anything else. And there's no reason for it to be hurting them. Not that they've handled it perfectly, but there's no reason for it to be hurting them. Now, one of the things I've been talking about the last couple of weeks with this issue in particular is how the administration's doing a really, I think, bad job of telling local media who they are detaining. Like what happened in Olathe a couple of weekends ago, like what happened in Lawrence last week, right? Where you had, whatever it was, 5-6 people detained in Lawrence. And you get these vigilante cameramen and women out there saying, oh, my gosh, this person's being arrested from this Mexican restaurant. And then they get to go on local news and tell their side of the story and be like, this is horrible. These are great people. Well, DHS never tells us who they're detaining and why they're detaining them. And I think it would be a good idea for DHS to get ahead of this, so that way you're not only getting one side of the story. It seems like a very obvious thing to do. So I put up a post about this last week on social media, on X and Facebook. I talked about it. I shared the podcast last week, and all that got to Kristi Noem, is what I was told by somebody who passed it on to Kristi Noem. And they sent me back, and I'm fine with them doing this, but they sent me back a link where you can look up the number of people who have been arrested with violent criminal records who are here illegally in every single state. And I think that's great. But as I told these individuals high up in the government, I said, I appreciate that. I'm looking through the website. It's a DHS.gov website. But as I dug into the website more, there's no way to match it with the specific detainments and arrests that are actually taking place. There's no dates, there's no times, there's no nothing. It's just a picture of some scary-looking guy and being like, well, he was detained and arrested by ICE for committing crime X, Y, or Z. And he's from Honduras, and he's accused with drug trafficking and molestation and sexual assault and all these different things. But it doesn't have any information where you can match up, that person was detained last Monday in Lawrence at El Potro or something like that. And that's the information that we really need, because then you can stop the crazy narratives that are getting put up in local media outlets when the lady with the cell phone camera says, this is the worst day ever. I can't believe what I just saw. If suddenly it's like, hey, yeah, this guy was arrested for voluntary manslaughter, domestic violence, and drug trafficking. Well, you know what? That was the best thing I saw that day. Your narrative goes completely out the window. But if we don't have the information, then there's no way to combat it. So I gave them that feedback, and then I got crickets. So I don't know if they really liked my critique after the fact. But I'm just trying to help them help themselves here. Because if they don't get ahead of this, they're going to continue to get smoked in local media. And I know that they don't live in that world, but for those of us that do, it's a big problem for them. And it's one of the reasons they're losing the narrative on this specific topic. But I know that, Secretary Noem did see my tweet and my critique on this issue, and maybe they'll start, I think, getting this thing trending in the right direction.